Switching to my 2008, it's a whole lot more customized. I've done a lot of work on this one, and so there'll be a lot to cover here. Starting with, you see I added those lights on the bottom of each side. Helps illuminate the back seat. Probably the biggest improvement you see is it's got a Mercury Grand Marquis cloth seat. When I bought this car, it did not come with a rear seat, so I went to the junkyard and this is what they had. They just had one. It's significantly more plush and comfortable than the standard vinyl police seat. And I thought the silver color was kind of a nice complement to the silver exterior of the vehicle. Moving over to the door, you see I added switches right here, and those control a reading light for the rear passenger, but only when accessory power is on. And that is the location of the reading light. It's on the C-pillar. Sitting in the rear, you see I handmade these seat backs that have place for DVDs, headphones, controllers, all that sort of stuff, because I installed these for my kids. Now, when they were young, they thought this was the coolest thing ever because they could watch videos, they could play games on here. It's got different slots and inputs and so forth. Now that they're older, of course, they just want their cell phones and they don't really care about this. So I may end up taking this out and possibly selling it. But like I said, for young kids, that's like the greatest thing ever. They came with headphones and game controllers and remote controls. And it wasn't really very expensive. And my secret stash, I always keep one of those Arm & Hammer fridge packs in the car to kind of help absorb odors. But I will be honest, the best way to keep your car from smelling bad is to keep it clean. If you're constantly needing air fresheners, you're doing something wrong. One unique thing about my 08 is you see the tint only goes up to almost to the top, but not all the way. And I'm guessing they had police equipment there since this was an unmarked traffic unit. It was probably very stealthy to have the lights there instead of on the top. But when I bought it, there was just bare window, so I just put that, I had that tint in the garage that I put up there. It's not the same darkness, but I just haven't bothered to try to totally re-tint it. And just like the 10, I cut out around the third brake light to hopefully avoid getting pulled over for that. Then I keep in every vehicle is a sock filled with the silica cat litter. It helps keep the windows from fogging, and a cheap and easy way to do it. And back in the day when everything was powered by a cigarette lighter plug, I went ahead and installed that for the rear passengers. Of course, nowadays batteries seem to last all day and are typically charged by a USB, so this thing has kind of become obsolete, but it's there if anybody needed it. And underneath the front seat, I have I think it's an 8-inch powered subwoofer. It's a really slim one that fits under the seat and gives the stereo just the right amount of punch to have good quality sound. I did upgrade the speakers in the doors and the rear deck, and adding the sub was the right thing to do. Moving to the front, you see I have blue LEDs for the floor area. I used to have one red and one blue, but like I said, when the reds burned out, I ran out of reds, so right now we're running blues, and that's an easy mod. I'm pretty sure I have a video on my channel, but basically you just tap into the same wires that control all the other dome lights and everything. It's, if memory's correct, it's a black with a blue stripe. That's the hot, and it's running all over the car, so you can find it pretty much anywhere in the vehicle. Tap into it, add a ground, and you're off and running with lights that will come on when the doors are open or when you activate from the dash. Seat is just like the 2010 on the passenger side, nothing special there. Same center console as in the 2010. Like I said, it's just my favorite choice for these cars. I like the way it's laid out, and what I do to fix the problem of that piece falling off is I just JB weld it on, and it seems to work great. Just like in the 2010, I did my own custom pleather steering wheel wrap. This one I used a pebble textured material, and I don't like it as much as I like the smooth one. However, I did a much better job on this one as far as installing it and giving it a more professional look. So what I plan to do is take the one out of the 2010 and redo it with the smooth material, but using the techniques that I learned from trial and error of doing it about 4 or 5 times before I got it where I was happy with it. The 08 has the adjustable lumbar support right there, and also the rip that I've tried to fix right there. On that, the seat's pretty much about the same as the 2010, and really, like I said, even without the lumbar support adjustment, it seems to be about the same as far as actual support. And you see I carry a cheap Harbor Freight survival knife. I think it was like $5 or something. So if I need something like that, it's there. These are what I call the old style window switches. I much prefer having it down and up like that. Obviously the reason they got rid of them was supposedly people would accidentally press down on this, have a limb outside the glass, and then apparently they would panic and keep pressing the up button, which would injure them. I have a hard time believing that that really was happening, but I guess you never know with people, right? And like I said, the other car, I always keep baby wipes there for after I fill up with gas or anytime I need to clean up my hands. And I tend to put a little alcohol in the container with it so that it's more of a sanitary, disinfecting type wipe. I generally keep the same stuff. So I have reading glasses, have my key to my front gate, flashlight. And this one has the pen in it. The other one's supposed to have a pen. I don't know, must have fallen in there. And I normally keep a knife in there too. I don't know, I may have pulled that out for something. And then I've got some sunglasses there and a towel to wipe sunglasses or whatever. This one, the box is a little bit fancier because this one already had holes in here, and I didn't want to drill holes in my 2010 to mount something like this. So the 2010 one is just actually hanging there, whereas this one's mounted to the existing holes. But it's the same type of setup, except this one also has front parking sensors. The 10 only has them in the rear. So this switch lets me turn off the fronts, because if it's raining real bad, I get a false in the front sometimes, so I turn them off, and that way it's not beeping at me when I'm driving. And then we have the camera and the fog lights, just like on the 10, the fog lights, turn on the fog lights with the accessory power, and they switch to the grill lights if I turn on the high beams. And the camera switch, again, is the override for the rear view mirror camera, so that if you want to record while you're sitting with the car off, you can. I've got the piece of Kydex up here right now to hopefully block the sun. One has the white and the red. Both of them I bought new domes off of eBay because the old ones were dried out and cracked. You see I also have a microphone there that goes to the Bluetooth function on the stereo, so if you're using your phone, I don't do that when I drive, so I've never actually used it, but if you're somebody that uses a phone, the stereo somehow has a way to do it where you can talk through that and utilize that microphone there. You see the blinding light there from the LEDs. 10-inch stereo. It's also hooked up with a deal down there to read the computer, so I can turn on the software on there and monitor the engine temperature, RPM, speed, all those different things through the OBD port via Bluetooth. And you see I have the blank template here, no adjustable pedals and no traction control. Just like the 10, everything's working on here. See, my idle hours are much more significant, 48.53, and that's because this was a local traffic unit, so I know it sat. I mean, I remember seeing it daily, you know, going back and forth to work. It would be just sitting there trying to catch speeders and stuff. So I know it. That's why it has a lot of idle hours, whereas my 2010 was a sheriff's unit, so it drove from one end of the county to another, which for some of you is like driving across several state lines. But it didn't idle much, and that's reflected in the mileage. So I've put about 20,000 miles on this since I've had it now. So this is what I was talking about. It's called Torque. It's an app that comes with this stereo. I'm sure you can find it other places. So you see right now it's showing the coolant temp, and that's because the engine is off. Let's see, I wonder, like there where the intake says 80 and the air temp says 66, I'm guessing that my air sensor is off because it's at least 80 here in the shop right now. So it's not 66. I think that's probably more accurate than that is by a lot. Anyway, when you're running the engine, obviously these all update except for the miles per gallon. The miles per gallon always shows somewhere between 25 and 30, which is just not happening. I'm getting about 16 to 17 overall. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about overall. I'm not talking about, you know, temporarily when you let off the gas on a downhill, you might be getting in the 20s, 30s, maybe even higher. But I'm talking overall, starts, stops, acceleration, freeway driving, city driving, everything. I'm getting about 16 to 17, and this always shows to be about 25 or more. And then you can customize different screens on here to put whatever you want to do. So it's a pretty cool app. I like the big screen is helpful, but obviously you have to be careful that you don't sit here and stare at this while you're driving, because it could be distracting. I don't know how accurate these things are, where it's quarter mile times and eighth mile times and all that, but you know, it is what it is. If, like I said, if you just want to have some fun seeing what shows up on there. And this one has a much more beat up cup holder. It's missing the little plug that goes there. However, I have this aftermarket plug that plugs in there and gives you USB power if you need it. And this is probably the craziest thing that happened to me on this car. The driver sun visor, where the mirror goes, you know, there's a plastic cover that sits there and flips up or whatever. Mine, one day I just put the visor down and the whole thing just fell off, and I looked and basically the little hinges and stuff had disintegrated. So for right now I've got this material on there that's the same material that I have on the steering wheel. It's just an extra scrap piece, so I just sewed it over that because I know this is going to sound crazy, but if you're driving around with this mirror, seeing your face, it's kind of distracting. Even when you're as ugly as me. The glove box is pretty ordinary. I have an insurance card, owner's manuals are right there, including the police interceptor manual. So I carry my keyless entry book, and then the rest of this is what came with the car. For the 08, they did an owner's manual. And they did the police supplement separately. And then obviously your warranty book, your maintenance book, and your tire warranty. So I was lucky these all came with the car. My first Crown Vic 03 didn't come with any of this stuff. And this is really where I learned a lot of stuff about the Crown Vic. When I first got them, I didn't know all the different police things, and kind of learn as I go. And this was helpful because it talked about the different options that the police cars had over the civilian models. So once again, I want to say thank you to Panzer Platform and everybody else that contributed on this collaboration video. Hope it was fun and enjoyable. Appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe to all of our channels if you're not already subscribed, and please tell your friends about our channels. Thank you very much.